Emma's favorite restaurant. Okay.
Wow.
When Emma and her family go out to dinner.
You're probably wondering, what just happened? Why did they have so much trouble trying to read that simple second grade passage? Well, if you didn't notice, they had headphones on that was delaying their auditory feedback. Well, we decided to put delayed auditory feedback to the test with an app called Speech Jammer that does exactly what it says. We tried it on a student who stutters and some who don't. We brought in speech pathologist Heidi Berg to tell us what speech pathology is and what methods she uses to deal with stuttering.
A speech-language pathologist is a specialist trained in the areas of voice, fluency, language, and sound development. The two biggest areas that I help with are language development, and that can include vocabulary development, understanding directions. Concept words like before and after can be really tricky, especially if a student has two languages, two or more languages. So concept words, generating sentences, like sometimes we'll have, I read paper. I am reading the paper, so I'll work with them on including auxiliary verbs, grammatical endings like ing. If I'm dealing with a stutterer, the first thing that I'm going to do is to slow my own rate and build in pauses so that what they're hearing, in fact I'm doing it right now, what they're hearing is a strategy that they can use, and it will sound just fine if they can manage and regulate their own rate and pausing. It's something that can help them to be more fluent. Other things that we'll try are called easy onset, where you use a breathy approach to words, or the delayed auditory feedback. And some other things are to use deliberate stuttering, so you would practice doing a fake stutter so that when you have that moment you can try to get hold of it, and instead of making it an involuntary stutter, make it a voluntary stutter that you can have more control over.
Berg tells us what she does when dealing with an adult who stutters.
If I were working with an adult, I would draw a diagram of all those body parts that I just talked about and explain that if the block is in your brain, then that means that we need to try to make your thoughts more fluid. If the block is in your voice, then I will give you voice exercises so that your muscles don't seize up and stop your sounds at that level. If it's at the level of your lungs, I will try to give you some breathing exercises to help make everything more fluid so that we can determine how, where the stuttering is coming from and how to address it at the source.
We then introduced Berg to the Speech Jammer.
I hadn't heard of Speech Jammer, but I have heard of other delayed auditory feedback, and I don't remember what that was called, but it was the same idea with that delayed auditory feedback. And what I experienced the other day when I got to try it, and what I knew from hearing about this other device, was that it's disconcerting if you have normal fluency, but it can be a regulating force if somebody has disfluency. So that's an interesting thought loop, because if you give somebody interruptions, it shouldn't help make them more fluent. But with somebody who is disfluent, it seems to give their brain more things to work on. So that's one way that it can help with fluency.
Then Berg was kind enough to let us try out the Speech Jammer on one of her students, Brandina McDermott.
Almost was one of 200 performers out of 2,500 audiences chosen to be a part of the National Youth Choir performing in New York City. Sings her way to the Big Apple. Bailey Amos is a well-known name in the halls of Brown City High School. Amos is talented in many different areas, whether it's her breathtaking voice.
She had some moments where she had some pauses, and part of that was the reading. So it wasn't as easy as I would have. If I would have had a different book, that would have been better for her. But I did see really nice, fluid reading in that second go round. What do you think, Randy?
I think that whenever I did the before, I think I did better than the app.
Oh, it felt more comfortable? Okay.
A little bit.
And why do you think it was hard? Was it because it was delaying it?
Because like whenever I was reading, it was like saying it back, and it kind of made me like a little nervous. So then I started a little stuttering, but then I gotten a little comfortable with it.
Once we tried it on McDermott, we tried it on students who don't stutter.
When Emma and her family go out to dinner, they always go to their favorite restaurant. Their favorite restaurant is an Italian restaurant, and they usually go once a week. Emma always gets ravioli, and her little brother Josh always gets spaghetti with meatballs. Their parents like to try different things. Emma's favorite restaurant. Okay.
Wow.
When Emma and her family go out to dinner, they always go to their favorite restaurant. Their favorite restaurant is an Italian restaurant, and they usually go once a week. Emma always gets ravioli, and her little brother Josh always gets spaghetti with meatballs.
Who could have thought that an app that seems so fun and simple could potentially help people who have stuttered? For Leyva and Raquel Garcia, I'm Arroyo.